everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so happy to have you here today. Before we get started, make sure that you're subscribed here on YouTube. You can be part of my crafty family. All you have to simply do is hit the subscribe button down below. It's completely free, and who doesn't love free? Now, in today's video, I want to show you how we're going to use our Cricut to create an embossing on this really fun metallic paper. Now, I will say that I'm sure it's a little difficult to see from where you are sitting, but this comes out so beautiful, and I'll show you a really good view of this at the end. I just made a simple little bookmark design, but you can use this in so many fun ways. You can make little card embellishments, you can make bookmarks, you can make designs for cork boards, for bulletin boards, whatever it may be. But this is a great way to make some really cool designs using your Cricut Maker and the debossing tool. But I'm going to tell you a little secret. You can still do this on your Cricut Explore or your Cricut Joy using either the foil tool, the scoring stylus, or the aftermarket engraving tools. I'll link everything down below so that you can make this. I also have a tutorial using the Explore to do a embossing design from a while back with just some regular paper, but I really think the metallic looks so cool. So without further ado, let's get started. We're going to do this fun embossing design here in Cricut Design Space. And honestly, this is really, really easy. Super fun. You will have no problem with this, I promise. And you can do this with any of the machines. Just keep in mind that with the Joy or the Joy Extra, you use the foil tool. And with the Explorer, you would use the scoring tool to create this. So I'm going to show you how to set this up, and then I'll kind of explain how to do it with each of the machines. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the images, and I'm just going to use Design Space to grab a bookmark shape. So I'm just going to search for bookmark, and you can make anything that you really want. Cards, tags, whatever design you wish to make. I'm just going to pick a random bookmark shape that I like, and I'm going to use this one here. And I'm going to add this to my canvas. Now, again, do it how you want to do it. Make it how you want to make it. I think that a 3-inch bookmark isn't really big enough. I like a bit bigger. I'm usually like 5 to 6-inch bookmarks, so I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Plus, it'll look really cute with our design. And I don't really mind when bookmarks kind of hang out the bottom or the top. So maybe we'll go a little bigger just because it's fun. So this is the shape that I'm going to be using to create our bookmark. Now I want to add a design or text or something inside of the bookmark, some sort of writing, whatever that may be. We're going to design that. So the first thing I think I want to do is let's put in a word, and let's just do reader. That's a fun, bookmark design. Now this is where you can really start to show your own style, make your own thing. You can choose your text. Do anything that you want, whatever design you like to do. But I will say that with embossing, the thicker the font usually, the better it will turn out. So I do like to use a more bold font, something that's got a little bit more pizzazz to it. Cooper Black is a really fun one. Something like this Dairy Day, I'll show you what it looks like, is just not going to work very well because of those really small spaces. Like in the letters, it's a little too tiny. Enjoy Summer is a really good one because you see that it's chunky. The spaces in between the letters are pretty big. So you just kind of find one that has the thickness without being too thick, without having any kind of, too much to go with it. I think that capital R is kind of throwing the whole design off, so I'm going to get rid of that. Now I'm going to just find something that I like. So give me just a minute and I will look through these fonts and find one that I think will work. This one here is perfect. I think it's really cute. And this is Lovely Mood Display. I'll link it down below. It's actually a duo font. So I'm going to use this word reader. Now what I'm going to do is rotate it 270 degrees so that I can place it on to my bookmark. Now I can place this wherever I want it to be. Does not really matter. Wherever you want it to sit is fine. There's no right or wrong way. Now I want to add some hearts to this. So I'm just going to grab shapes. And I'm going to grab a couple of hearts. Now I'm going to go ahead and rotate these. Again, I'll use the rotate up here. I don't usually like rotating from there. I find it's a little difficult. So I'm going to put a couple of hearts on here just to kind of add to the design. Now, sometimes when you get them a little bit smaller, it can be hard to move them around on your screen. If it's a little difficult, just go ahead and zoom in on your screen to whatever you need to zoom in on. So I'm just going to add a couple hearts. Now, again, do have whatever you like. It doesn't have to be exactly my design, but you can do whatever you like to do with your design here. So this is what I'm going to put on to my bookmark. Now I'm going to take the reader and the bookmark and I'm just going to center them horizontally just so that that looks a little more straight. I don't really necessarily care if it's perfect. Again, this is just to show you how to create this. So this is a super cute little design. I need 2 versions of this. One is going to be the one that we're going to cut out, and one is going to be the one that we're actually going to use for the embossing. So the first one that I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead, select this, and I want to duplicate. Now, I'm going to, before I do anything else, I just want to show you that these are all separate pieces. So your bookmark is a separate piece from your words on both of these. Now, this one here, I want to make this one the emboss version. So I'm going to go up to operation. Now, if you're using a Cricut Joy, you need to choose the foil operation and you'll use your foil tool. If you're using your Explorer, you'll need to use the score operation and use your scoring stylus. But because we're using the Maker, we do have the Deboss tool. So we're going to select that. Now, what I want to do before I do anything else is I'm going to grab these 2 items, the bookmark and your debossing words, and I'm going to attach them. Now over here, we are actually going to have everything cut out and we'll just delete, like we'll just take off the bookmark and leave the words and the hearts in place on our mat to allow it to do this debossing, embossing. This is just a fun little hack, but we need to have both pieces so that they're going to line up correctly when we go to actually make this. So it's really important that we have them on the same piece. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to attach it. Now everything's going to turn green, but it's going to cut out the hearts and the words. So when we take it off the mat, we'll take off the backing of the cardstock and we'll take off the bookmark shape and all the middle letters. That way we can then put another piece of cardstock on top and it will deboss and cut. So it's only going to deboss the words, which really it's embossing, but 2 different things. And then it'll cut out the cardstock around it to create this bookmark shape. Now it is important to make sure that one of them is a different color than the other. It does not matter what color. It just has to be a different color so that it cuts on a different mat. So like I said, make it red, make it purple, make it pink, whatever color, it does not matter, but it's going to need to be 2 separate colors. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this really quick just in case anything happens when I hit make. I'm going to hit make and you'll see that you have 2 different mats. Now it's important to note that basic cut is this mat and deboss and basic cut is the second mat. This is the first mat we're going to cut and then we're going to do this one. Now this is super easy really in the long run. Once you do it once or twice, you're going to get it. It's going to work really, really well. It's going to come out super cute. So let's head over to the machine. I'm going to show you how to cut everything out. Make sure that you're leaving the right pieces of your cardstock down, and then also how we're going to install our debossing tool and get this to look really super cute. We're ready to cut this out. I'm going to be using just a scrap piece of thick cardstock that I have, and I'm actually going to cut this on the magnetic sheet setting. I want to use a very heavy setting for this. This cardstock is super thick. The heavy cardstock setting does not work well on this one, so I would recommend if you're using a different material, just do those cut tests. I'm not doing a cut test on this. I probably should, but I can always just recut because I'm using my Cricut Maker. But if you're using some of the other machines where you can't just simply hit the go button again, then you're going to want to do some test cuts. Now I'm just going to load this, and this is going to cut that base layer so that we can use the debossing tool to create the embossing. So we're going to go ahead and get this cut out, and then I'll show you kind of how we address if it doesn't cut all the way through. Okay, so now that we've got through the cutting, now it did pull the letter centers, but that's actually good because I needed them off anyways. And by it pulling them off, it means I don't have to try to do it myself. But judging by that, it means it probably cut through really, really, really well. So I'm gonna pull this part off. we're gonna need to unload this, but I always just double check that cut before I unload. So I'm gonna unload this. Now, what you're going to do for this, you're gonna have a couple pieces that we need to keep on, which are gonna be all of your letters, so more than a couple, and the hearts. You can pull off where the dot is for the bookmark, and then you want to pull off the background, which is why we have the bookmark made, so that we can pull that off. What's going to happen is all these parts are going to stay on your mat, and we're going to lay our next piece of cardstock right on top of this, and you'll kind of see why. It makes a little more sense when you do it. So I'm going to carefully lift this. Now, you do want to be careful, even if it does look like it cut really well through, you just want to make sure that all the letters and all those little hearts are going to stay down in place. So I just kind of take my time and I keep my finger on top of the little pieces. And then I'm going to take the little dot off. So now you'll see that you're left with kind of the design that's going to be on your cardstock. Now what I want to do, I'm going to take my metallic cardstock and I'm going to lay this down onto my mat. And I'm going to get it nice and lined up. Now, again, you're going to want to bring in a brayer for this, because you're going to need to make sure that this is held down really well. Now, also, what I like to recommend that you do is grab a little bit of painter's tape or some like masking tape, because I want to make sure that it's going to hold down on this corner really well. And I will say that it doesn't always, because there's not as much area for your cardstock to hold to the mat. So I'm going to grab just a little bit of painter's tape. Mine's ripping weird, it's fine. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little painter's tape right up here in this corner. Now I do want to be careful that it's not going to get in the way of the cut. So I'm going to go ahead and place that right there. And then I'm going to place a little bit along this side over here as well. Now, like I said, mine ripped real weird. So I'm going to rip it a little bit in half so it's not quite as wide, because I don't want to hang off the side. But I just want to hold this down a little bit more than what it is, just because we're going to be running that debossing tool over it, and you just want to make sure that it's not going to lift. So like I said, I just like to really make sure this is held down. Now when you're running your brayer over it, you may start to see a little bit of the design coming through, and that's okay, because we want it to show anyways, and the debossing tool is going to help with that. Now we need to change out our tool, and all you need to do is you're going to open up your clamp B, take out your fine point blade, and then you're going to use the debossing tool, which is part of the quick swap housing tools. So it's got the little button on top. Now I don't have the top attached to the bottom here, so I'm going to grab that debossing tool, which is tool number 21. Press the button on the top of your quick swap housing, remove the original housing, and then you're going to place this one in so that it lines up with the little square. It's like a square hole and a square adapter. And then your debossing tool almost feels like nothing. It's like a little plastic tip on to there. So now you're going to load that in to clamp B, line up those gold gears, and then I'm going to select my setting. Now for this, I'm going to use heavy cardstock. We're going to go ahead and load in our design and select all that. I'm going to put my tools over to the side here, so I don't want those to get messed up. And then we're going to hit the go button. And now what it'll do is it's going to trace around where those little pieces are. Now what it's doing is it's going to ask us to change out our tool for that fine point blade, so that now it can use the fine point blade to cut around the cardstock to create the actual bookmark itself. So when you're doing that, just take out the other tool, replace it with your fine point blade. You want to make sure your fine point blade is well seated. Close the clamp and then hit the Cricut button, which is the flashing little C with the antenna on top. And I know you guys couldn't see it, but I literally just made antennas on my head like you could see me. before I pull this off, I do want to make sure that it cut through. It looks like it did. I just always want to double check. It did beautifully. So I'm going to go ahead and unload, and I'm going to pop this off, and then let me get you guys a closer look, but it is so stinking cute. I know the light makes it a little hard, so I'm going to get you a better look at this. This embossing came out really, really cool. And what I love about these is that you can use them in a lot of ways, whether you want to add a little something extra to a card that you're making, or maybe a cake topper, or you can make bookmarks like I did. There are so many ways to use this, so let your imagination be your guide. You can do any designs that you want to. Feel free to try out a bunch of different things and see what works for you. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. Be sure you're subscribed here on YouTube. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun, crafty content we have coming. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting.